Some stories start with heartbreak and turn into revenge. Legally Blonde turns heartbreak into something much better. It takes a woman everyone underestimates, drops her into one of the most intimidating worlds possible, and then watches her prove that kindness, confidence, and hard work can be just as powerful as cold ambition. What begins as a breakup story quickly becomes a transformation story, where the person expected to fall apart ends up becoming the strongest person in the room. The movie opens in Sunny Lo's Angels, where Elle Woods seems to have everything exactly the way she wants it. She is popular, fashionable, endlessly upbeat, and completely at home in a bright world of friendships, parties, and big plans. She is the president of her sorority, adored by her friends, and deeply in love with her boyfriend Warner Huntington III. To Elle, life is moving toward a clear next step. She believes Warner is about to propose, and she is ready for the fairy tale version of adulthood she has always imagined. Then the night she thinks will change her life goes in the worst possible direction. Warner takes her out to dinner, and instead of proposing, he breaks up with her. His reason is not that he does not like her. It is worse. He tells her that he needs to become more serious, more respectable, and more polished for the future he wants in politics and law. In his mind, Elle does not fit that future. He sees her as fun, attractive, and charming, but not serious enough to stand beside him as he builds a powerful career. The breakup crushes her, not because Warner is perfect, but because he has just told her that the person she is will never be enough in the world he wants to enter. For the first time, Elle is forced to look at herself through someone else's harsher lens, and it shakes her badly. She spends days in bed, replays everything in her mind, and falls into the kind of heartbreak that makes every room feel smaller. But Elle is not built to stay down forever. After some encouragement from her friends, she decides that if Warner thinks she's not serious enough, then she will prove him wrong in the biggest way possible. Warner is going to Harvard Law School, so Elle decides she will get into Harvard too. At first, everyone around her treats this like a fantasy. Elle does not have the background, the image, or the reputation people associate with an elite law school, but she has one trait they keep ignoring. Once she commits to something, she works for it with total focus. The movie spends time showing just how much effort goes into this choice. Elle studies hard for the entrance exams, hires help, and builds an application that reflects exactly who she is instead of trying to pretend she is someone else. She does not hide her fashion sense or her personality. She leans into them. The admissions video she submits is bright, funny, and completely unlike the stiff, serious image the committee expects. It could have gone badly. Instead, it forces them to pay attention. Elle does not just ask to be let in, she makes herself impossible to ignore. When she gets accepted, it feels like a victory before the real story has even begun. She heads to Harvard imagining that once Warner sees her there, everything will snap back into place. In her mind, this is the grand gesture that proves she can fit into his world. But the second she arrives, reality hits. Harvard is colder, sharper, and much less forgiving than anything she has known. Students judge her instantly. Professors do not hide their impatience. And Warner is already engaged to another law student named Vivian Kensington, who fits the exact polished image he used to describe. That first shock matters because it forces Elle to confront the truth. She did not really come to Harvard for herself. She came to chase someone who had already decided she was not enough. For a while, that truth makes the experience miserable. She struggles in class, gets humiliated by a professor, and realizes that charm alone will not carry her through this environment. The world she has entered is designed to reward confidence only when it arrives in a certain outfit, voice, and social class. Still, Elle keeps going. Some of her motivation is stubbornness, but some of it starts turning into something healthier. She begins to discover that she actually likes parts of the work. She is smart, observant, and much more disciplined than anyone expects. She starts taking her studies seriously, not as a performance for Warner, but as something she wants to master. This is where the movie stops being just a comedy about fish out of water and becomes something more satisfying. Elle is no longer trying to prove she belongs in Warner World. She is slowly building a new version of herself that has nothing to do with his approval. Along the way, she forms one of the most important friendships in the story. She meets Paulette, a kind but insecure manicurist who is stuck in her own unhappy cycle. Paulette has been treated badly by men, ignored by life, and convinced that big change is for other people. Elle sees something better in her immediately. Their friendship works because it is built on support rather than competition. Paulette helps ground Elle when Harvard gets overwhelming, and Elle helps Paulette believe that confidence is not something only certain people are born with. At school, Elle finally catches a break when one of her professors, Callahan, chooses a small group of students to assist on a real legal case. This is the kind of opportunity everyone wants because it means direct experience, visibility, and the possibility of a future career boost. Getting selected is a huge sign that Elle progress is real. She has been working hard, participating more in class, and showing instinct. Even the students who dismiss her cannot pretend she is there by accident anymore. The case itself becomes the center of the film's second half. The defendant is Brooke Windham, a glamorous fitness celebrity accused of murdering her wealthy husband. On the surface, the case looks like exactly the kind of tabloid scandal that invites easy judgment. Brooke is beautiful, rich, and physically perfect, which makes it easy for people to assume she is shallow or guilty. But Elle connects with her immediately because she recognizes the same pattern she has been fighting herself. People decide who Brooke is before listening to her. Brooke refuses to reveal part of her alibi because it would expose a deeply personal detail she wants kept private. That silence makes the legal team job much harder, and it also creates tension because Callahan and the other students are focused only on winning, while Elle actually cares about the person trapped inside the case. Her empathy becomes one of her greatest legal skills. She listens to Brooke differently, and because of that, Brooke begins to trust her. At the same time, Elle's relationship with Vivian begins to change. At first, Vivian sees Elle as a joke and as a threat to her relationship with Warner. But as the pressure of the case builds, she starts seeing what everyone else has missed. Elle is not manipulative, lazy, or fake. She is hardworking, honest, and surprisingly brave. That shift is important because it shows that some people only need time to let go of their assumptions while others never will. Warner, for his part, keeps proving that he understands Elle less and less the more she grows. He is unsettled by her success, confused by his own lingering attraction to her, and too shallow to understand that she no longer needs what he once offered. The movie wisely refuses to make him a great villain. He is simply small in the ways that matter most. Then the story takes a darker turn. During work on the case, Callahan makes a move on Elle, revealing that he did not fully see her intellect either. He assumed her beauty and ambition would make her vulnerable to the same ugly dynamic so many women in professional spaces are forced to navigate. It is one of the most painful moments in the movie because it hits exactly when Elle has started to believe she is being respected for her work. For a moment, that betrayal nearly breaks her. Elle thinks about leaving Harvard entirely. She's humiliated, exhausted, and tired of being measured by other people's narrow ideas. But this is where the women around her become crucial. Vivian believes her, Paulette supports her, and Professor Stromwell, one of the few figures in the story who combines authority with wisdom, challenges Elle to stop letting foolish men define her future. That conversation gives Elle exactly what she needs. So Elle returns, stronger and clearer than before. Brooke fires Callahan and chooses Elle to take over the lead questioning in court. It is a huge risk because Elle is still a law student and no one expects her to carry a trial turning point. But Elle has something the others do not. She understands the case not just as a puzzle but as a web of people, pride, secrets, and assumptions. The courtroom climax is where everything comes together. Elle questions Chutney, Brooke's stepdaughter, who has been performing grief and outrage all through the trial. Most of the legal team has focused on obvious evidence and broad theory, but Elle pays attention to something smaller and much more personal. She notices a flaw in Chutney's story connected to hair care knowledge, something many people dismiss as trivial because it belongs to the feminine world they do not take seriously. But for Elle, it is a clue. And because she understands the truth of it, she uses that knowledge to expose the lie at the center of the case. The reveal is satisfying because it is not about Elle suddenly becoming someone different. She wins precisely because she uses the parts of herself others mocked. Her knowledge of beauty, grooming, style, and social behavior does not make her less intelligent. It gives her access to details everyone else overlooked. She cracks the case, Chutney confesses in open court, and Brooke is cleared. In one brilliant moment, every stereotype the film has been building against gets turned inside out. After that, the emotional ending comes naturally. Elle has finally outgrown Warner completely. When he tries to crawl back into her life now that she is accomplished and impressive in ways he cannot ignore, she turns him down without hesitation. It is not a revenge moment, it is a recognition moment. She sees him clearly at last, and what once felt like destiny now looks small and unnecessary. Vivian, once her rival, becomes her genuine friend. Paulette gets a new sense of confidence and a romantic future that actually feels earned. Brooke goes free, and Elle stays at Harvard not as a visitor trying to impress someone else but as a woman who has claimed her own place there. The film ends by jumping forward to graduation, where Elle is no longer the outsider trying to prove she belongs. She's giving the final speech. She has become one of the strongest students in her class, and the people who once laughed at her now listen with total respect. What makes this ending work is that Elle does not become hard, cold, or stripped of the things that made her different. She stays bright, warm, stylish, and openly herself. The difference is that she now knows those qualities were never weaknesses. Legally Blonde works because it understands something a lot of transformation stories miss. Real growth does not always mean becoming less visible, less feminine, or more serious in the narrow way the world rewards. Sometimes real growth means refusing to shrink. Elle does not succeed by rejecting who she is. She succeeds by sharpening it, trusting it, and backing it up with discipline and courage. By the end, the movie is no longer about getting a boyfriend back. It is about taking your life back from every person who told you that you were too pink, too cheerful, too soft, too pretty, or too much to be taken seriously. Elle wins not by becoming someone else, but by proving she was always more than enough. And that is what makes her story satisfying long after the case is closed.